Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.
Welcome back to another astounding episode of the Scoreboard Addicts podcast. I'm Nick, and with me is Anthony the Rook. TJ's on vacation, so it's going to be just the two of us. And it worked this time, and it'll be Anthony and I reviewing a 2004 movie, Miracle, starring Kurt Russell, Noah Emmerich, and Eddie Cahill of Friends fame.
And Sex and the City.
Is he on Sex and the City?
Yeah, my wife.
I would have known that, except I've got these things that get in the way. They're called testicles.
That's mean.
I don't get paid extra for being nice.
My wife loves Sex and the City, so she knows that he's in it.
Good for her. That's awesome.
I'm gonna say I love this movie. This is one of my top favorite sport movies.
If anybody doesn't like this movie, they need to take themselves out back and give themselves a beating until they learn what it means to be an American.
Seriously, this is like top patriotic. Just being. I don't know, just being American. It has all those feelings that you get from watching it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love this movie.
Absolutely. So quick synopsis. It's the true story of Herb Brooks, the player turned coach who led the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team to a victory over the seemingly invincible Soviet squad. Copyright IMDb. 1980 Olympics. The Soviet Union at this point is not allowing players to play in the NHL. So there are no Soviets, aka Russians, in the NHL at the time. But the Soviet Olympic hockey teams playing in the KHL and dominating for, at that point, 20 years, I believe. They field the greatest team in Olympic history at that point. On the other side of the coin, the U.S. is fielding a bunch of college guys because at the time NHL guys couldn't play, and there are a bunch of college kids coming out of Michigan and Boston and various other Minnesota college programs are coming out, and they're playing for Herb Brooks, who's previously the Minnesota head coach. Made it to the Frozen Four the year before, They're going to go up against the greatest hockey team in the world at the time, and that's where it lands us at the beginning of Miracle. This is based on a true story.
Yeah,
a lot of it is very true. Some of it is, I would say, more so the interactions are made up, not so much the situations and how they happened, just certain interactions between certain players.
Yeah, they said
most. You want to tell us about some of that?
Yeah, they said most of the scenes, like interactions or things that occurred, is like pretty accurate. Like I'm trying to think. I think it was they call according to the filming, they called it the Herbie's Day. Was the him skating? He had all the kids come out. They got the tie against Norway, and they were just skating back and forth. That actually happened. He was pissed off.
They're basically doing suicides.
Basically doing suicides all night long. And he had them doing it. And the cool part about the filming of this was that they actually did that to the actual actors. So a lot of the actors in this movie are guys who were picked similar to how the program, I think we spoke about this with the program, we reviewed that movie, was that a lot of the actors were picked not because of their acting skills, but because of their athletic ability skills. Yeah. So because they want the authenticity of these players who are playing hockey. So a lot of them are hockey players. So that night, or they had actually 3 days of filming, they did 12 hours of filming that scene for 3 straight days. And they just did skates, the suicides back and forth to get that authentic exhaustion of those players. Because think about it, back in the Olympics, they're training constantly. They're preparing. They got games to play. They're practicing. These kids are exhausted. And after a game against Norway, it was a 3-3 game, and Herb Brooks had them doing suicides basically on the ice all night long to get them. And that scene's always great. That's in the middle. It's kind of like the middle of the movie when he's trying to get these players to gel. And he's basically just making it seem that if they all hate me, they all get together and they'll they'll be a cohesive unit basically. And at that point, it was when Marco Ruzioni, throughout the movie, they always said, was that
Micah Ruzioni?
Micah Ruzioni. I don't know what I said, Mark, but Micah Ruzioni. Throughout the movie, they kept doing the scene where they kept saying, where do you play? Where do you play? University of Boston, University of Minnesota. Where do you belong? And then finally at that scene, he's like, where are you from? And he's like, United States of America. And
no, so hold on. You got to give the whole story though, Rook.
I know, but that's what the scene
the beginning of the movie starts with all these college players trying out for the team.
Yes.
A lot of the players played for the University of Boston or Boston or whatever, and the University of Minnesota, who had just played each other in the finals of the Frozen Four the year before.
Yes.
And obviously, just like any hockey game, that there's competition and there's rivalry. Obviously, there's going to be situations where you lose and or win, and you blame the opponent for something that they did that you see as a grievous affront to you and your team. So you lost, and it's because you hooked me, you son of a bitch. It wasn't a hook. You're just a punk. And they're carrying over that animosity into the Olympics. That all being said, none of them sit there and acknowledge the fact to this point that they don't play for the University of Boston or the University of Minnesota, the University of Michigan, or whatever school they previously went to. They now represent their country as fellow Americans. And that's the whole emphasis or emphasis, if you will, on the entire scene of who do you play for?
Yeah.
And the question throughout the movie that Herb asks them is, who do you play for? And they continuously tell him, I play here at the U with you, University of Boston. And they're not letting go of their old ties. And then finally, Herb and his assistant, Craig Patrick, smoked the dog shit out of these guys to the point where Micah Ruzioni, who ends up being captain of the U.S. Olympic team, says his name out loud, to which Herb replies, who do you play for? I just got chills. And Mike replies, the United States of America. In one of the greatest lines in movie cinema history. I love that. Who do you play for? The United States of America. Please stop smoking the dog shit out of us.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that is one of those scenes that you get chills from it. Just what these guys are going through, and to finally get that recognition of we play for our country now. There's no teams, there's nothing. We're playing for the United States. We're trying to win the gold medal. So I started from the beginning.
It's not for us, it's for everyone.
Yeah,
the United States of America.
Exactly. It's not, and then that game, obviously, with the end, everyone was tuning in. Back in 1980, that's one of the big events that was going on. But starting from the beginning of this movie is obviously the hiring of Herb Brooks. They do, they're picking the teams. They're trying to get players to come in. Then they have the training, and they finally cuts the team down. He's got to cut roster spots. But throughout the movie, there's so many great quotes like that one, United States of America. I mean, Herb Brooks, Kurt Russell in this movie was just incredible. I mean,
what's the greatest quote of the movie?
I do like that one. I'm trying. I feel like I have another one. I feel like you might know it. I can't remember right now.
Why is the movie called Miracle?
Oh, you're talking about Al Michaels.
Al Michaels. Do you believe in miracles?
Yes, of course. I didn't think when I was saying quote, I meant like actors saying it.
Well, they say it in the movie.
They do say it in the movie, yeah. But I meant that is obviously one of the all-time sports calls.
It's like go crazy, folks. Go crazy.
Yeah.
It's up there.
Yeah. Touch them all, Joe Carter. It's up there.
Touch them all. Touch them all.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's up there. But yeah, I mean, start from the beginning of the movie where, introducing these characters, there's just so much that goes on. Meeting all of them, Jim Craig is the goalie, who
played by Eddie Cahill. Plays Tag, no last name,
from Friends.
Friends.
I mean, that performance is really good. But I was talking before about Herb Brooks, Kurt Russell playing Herb Brooks. He really went to get into the character. He had to the point where he had all the people, I think, during the entire filming they all called each other by their I'm sorry, the name that they were playing, who they
That's
were
called
portraying.
method.
Yeah, the method. I have method acting. And they all call him Herb. They call each other Mike Ruzioni. They use these actual names of who they were portraying as opposed to using, their actual names. So it's interesting that was how deep they went to prepare for this role and to get ready for it. So I mean, it's from beginning to end. There's just so many great scenes. All these actors they're not all popular actors. They weren't known.
No, they're
for
not.
acting beforehand.
Not only. Listen, when I reeled off who was in the movie, I reeled off the three faces I knew.
Yeah.
And the three faces I knew when I said it were Kurt Russell, Noah Emmerich, who the name you may not know, but the face you definitely do know.
He's from
and Eddie
Truman
Cahill.
Show.
Yes, he plays Truman's best friend on the Truman
Best friend,
Show.
yeah. He's the assistant coach, and then Eddie Cahill, who's from Friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's still a great movie. There was one scene before that I do like. Is when they bring in the extra player. Herb Brooks brings the extra player.
I was just thinking the same thing.
And then they all get together and talk about,
And he's a great player.
He's a great player, but they're like, he's going to help us win a gold medal. And they got to confront Herb and say, we're
not
we're
about winning a gold medal.
Yeah. Like, we're a family here. We have a good team. We don't really need him. But so interesting point about that scene is that's the first scene that Kurt Russell had with all those actors. So the reason why they did it, the director did it. I can't remember his name right now, but the director did it because all the actors coming in, like I said, they're not. The
director's Gavin O'Connor.
Gavin O'Connor, yes, he did this purposely because he knew the actors were very nervous to be around Kurt Russell, knowing Kurt Russell's history of like being an actor, being in Hollywood. He was both the most well-known actor in this movie, so they all were intimidated by him. So they wanted it to feel that actual feel of those players the way they were intimidated by Herb Brooks, to have that same interaction where they were scared to talk to him, but they wanted to confront him, and they had to confront him about this. So it's true to how the players felt with Herb Brooks to get that same feeling when you have a great actor like Kurt Russell comes in with these younger actors who are pretty much unknowns.
Yeah, and that scene is good, and the lead up to it, where they're telling him basically, I'm afraid I don't want to lose my spot. And it's a whole thing. Like, so you're afraid to lose your spot? Yeah, I'm afraid. I don't want to lose my spot. I worked hard for my spot. That scene right there. And he goes, well, why shouldn't I bring this guy on? He's going to win me a gold medal. Why shouldn't I bring him on? And because we're a family. And to this day, I've seen this movie a few times. I don't know if that was the answer he was looking for, or if that was the answer that took him aback.
Yeah.
We're like, is he leading them to water, or is he truly challenging them, looking for a good answer? And they throw that answer, and he's just like, wow, you got me, kid.
Yeah.
I don't have, because Kurt Russell's response doesn't lend itself to decide like what, as the viewer, you don't get to sit there and kind of be in on his mindset where he's like, where you're like, oh, he's trying to make them say they're a family. Or I still don't know. Was that the answer he was looking for, or was that just the answer they gave? And he was like, wow, you got me, kid. That was a great answer.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I agree with you there. I don't think he was looking for them to say they were a family, but I think he wanted them to show that they were a cohesive unit. And the fact that they said the word family was like, well, that's more than just teammates. Like, these guys really care for each other. And this is what, me bringing this guy in disrupts that unity and that chemistry we have on the ice, that I can't bring him no matter how great of a player he is. He won't have that chemistry. He's going to disrupt it. And we might actually lose a gold medal because of that guy. So,
another scene I did enjoy was with Nathan West, who's also in Fired Up. I'm sorry, is he in Fired Up? He's not in Fired Up. Excuse me. He's in Bring It On.
Okay. Yes.
And he plays Rob McClanahan in the movie. He gets a bad bruise on his knee, and he's in pain. Herb checks with the doc, and doc says he's fine. He can't hurt himself any worse, but it's going to be really painful to play. And Herb challenges him in the locker room and says, like, basically stop being a little bitch. And Rob stands up and he goes, you want me to skate on one leg? Then I'll skate on one leg. And I was like, wow, that's a great like hockey scene. Like,
yeah,
I could see that happening.
Yeah, like when he leaves the locker room, he says to the assistant coach, he's like, I think they asked him before he went in, he goes, do you want me to fire them up? And he's like, I think they're pretty fired up now. Like when he leaves that locker room, that's a good scene too.
I did really enjoy the dynamic between Craig and Herb. I thought they were a great yin and yang.
Yeah, and I think because Herb was the hard ass, and it was funny because I think there's a scene where Craig asked Doc, because Doc was familiar with Herb at Minnesota, and he says, "Is he always this hard on his players?" And Doc's like, "I've never seen Herb act this way before." And Craig was kind of like taken aback by it by saying like, he's riding these kids too hard. Then we take it easy on them, kind of being the I guess being that like mama kind of to his like brutal like I guess good cop bad cop.
He wolf.
Yeah, exactly.
Taking care of the Cubs. Yeah, absolutely. I love the dynamic between them. I felt all the actors had a very good back and forth. Even the animosity in the beginning felt very real between OC and McClanahan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Where they're getting into scraps on the ice.
Yeah. And then moving from there, obviously, let's move towards the Olympics leading up to the big game. Team USA's rolling. And this is one of the scenes I like as well with Kurt Russell playing Herb Brooks is when someone asked him, none of the players were had media availability. He didn't let any of them speak to the media. And they keep showing all these press conferences, kind of like a montage, them playing well, them winning, coming from behind. A lot of the victories at the Olympics was come from behind victories. So they kept showing those quick little clips of it. And one of the reporters says, I think it's rumored to be that, you're just taking away you want the attention on yourself as opposed to the players. And Herb Brooks is like, that's not true. And then the very next press conference is that he sends Craig out there, the assistant coach, to take questions. And they're like, well, where's Herb today? And he's like, well, Herb's not available today. Just to show that like Herb was like, this isn't about me. This isn't about the players. This is about something bigger than that. So if you want to challenge me to say I want the attention, I'm not going to show up for your media availability. So I thought that was another good, teaching moment by just one of those prideful moments, not prideful, but humble moments by Herb Brooks throughout the story.
So is that true though? Did that actually happen?
I don't know. I didn't go through. I didn't do my reality. My website was like a reality versus fiction. Real history versus real history, which is
right.
Real REEL history and then the REAL history. So I didn't look that up to see whether or not that was true. But it would be interesting if it was. But going into this game, so everyone always the misconception about this is that everyone always thinks the game against the Soviet Union is the gold medal game, but it wasn't. It was a semis to get to the gold medal game, and they showed previously they played them I think 13 days earlier at the Garden, and the U.S. got walloped. It wasn't even close. It was an embarrassment. And obviously, there's a lot needed to be done. So one of the things I liked about this film, the way the director does this, is like one of these bookend moments, is that when you see them in Madison Square Garden against during the face-off, the player who's going to be the face-off against the Soviet Union player, he comes in, he's coming towards him, and instead of keeping an eye on him, you kind of see that he's intimidated. He kind of looks back at his other players instead of staring him down. So now when you go to the game, semifinals game, now they have the confidence. They've been winning. They have that chemistry rolling. And the Soviet Union player comes towards him. And instead of breaking the stare and looking at his teammate, he actually keeps the stare onto the Soviet Union player. Kind of one of those moments to show that like the confidence changed from 13 days earlier to the semifinals when they finally played Soviet Union again, which is a pretty good director moment right there.
One of the things talk about reality versus fiction is the players actually watched the movie and they thought that was pretty true. The only part that wasn't true is there's certain scenes where it kind of shows Herb interacting with the team on a friendly capacity. There's a Christmas party that they all go to, and ultimately they said, yeah, we respected Herb, but I can't really say that we liked him too much.
Yeah,
he was not friendly by any stretch of the imagination. But again, that's that drill sergeant mentality that I'm going to unify this team by making them hate one singular person. I mean, we do that in my world too. The drill sergeant treats you all like trash so that you all hate him instead of hating each other.
Yeah, definitely.
So that I could see that being like a true thing. Like they try to make Herb Brooks a little bit more likable than he probably was in real life. Yeah, so that's what was going on with Herb Brooks. One of the things I would like to know, talk about reality versus fiction. The actor that plays Jack O'Callahan, his name is Michael. Excuse me, I'm probably going to mess this name up. Michael Mantenuto actually quit acting after this movie, and he joined the United States Army Special Forces and served in Afghanistan and Iraq. Unfortunately, Sergeant Mantenuto took his life within the last few years, and he's no longer with us. But he did go on. Obviously, you look at movies and you see certain actors, and you go, that guy never did anything again. He never did anything in acting again. This guy definitely did something again.
Oh yeah.
And the sad part about it is he was a part of a lot of like veterans outreach programs to stop suicide, and it just didn't work for him. But he did serve in the United States Army Special Forces. He wasn't a bum soldier like me, just taking up space. He was a big deal. And I thank him for his service, and may he rest in Valhalla. Yeah,
I mean, rest in peace. I mean, it's a incredible story. But since we're talking about him, so during the audition process, they had, Sergeant. How do you pronounce it? Mantenuto. He actually got into a fight with another player while auditioning, and he was like apologizing to the director Gavin, and it was Gavin O'Connor, and he's like, "I'm so sorry," and they're like, "No, that's actually really good. We liked that you had that fight into you," and then actually won him the role of Jack O'Callahan, because they said he was defenseman and he was dubbed as one of the first guys drop his gloves to get into a fight. So they were like, "We like that fight attitude that you had there," and he also has that very powerful scene as well when he's hurt, and they're like, "Am I going to go home, Herb? Are you sending me home?" Because they had to make a roster. There's only 20 roster spots, and this guy's hurt. Like, he may not play for 2 or 3 weeks. And he has that. He's like, "I'm not cutting you." And he has that scene, just him alone, screaming, cheering. That's a powerful scene as well. And then he eventually does get to play in the semifinals game to make a difference there as well. So that's another good scene.
He actually played hockey at the University of Maine, and he is from New England. He's from Massachusetts. So his accent is authentic. He does know how to play hockey because he played hockey in college.
Yeah.
And he actually he transferred from the University of Maine to the University of Massachusetts at Boston. So he played at UMass. So definitely had experience, as did all the actors in this. They all had experience playing hockey, and that's how they got those jobs, which is good because it looked legitimate.
Yeah.
And honestly, they're not the focal point. Herb Brooks is.
Yeah, they're not. And I have 2 more points about the actors they chose. So one of them is Billy Schneider, who portrayed Buzz Schneider, who is Buzz Schneider's son. And they actually, when they casted him, they did not know that he was Buzz Schneider's son to play his father, basically. So he gets the role, and they didn't even know it was him until afterwards, that it was, his son playing father. And the other thing about this, you were saying authenticity of having these actors who are, athletic, was Eddie Cahill. So he's one of the ones that never played hockey, but he actually had history as a lacrosse goalie. And that's why they said he was able to move a little bit. But most of his scenes were actually stunt doubles. They had an Edmonton Oiler, with the mask, which is easier because he's a goalie. An old Edmonton Oiler goalie played the part whenever he was on the ice. So
he fell a lot.
Yeah, I always feel like he was like really diving for every puck.
A lot. Like, I watch hockey regularly. I don't see goalies go sideways that often.
Is that like an old school thing now?
I think it is.
Has to be, right?
I think it is.
Yeah.
But I can't say I didn't watch hockey in the 70s and 80s. I wasn't born.
Neither have I. But
I wasn't born in 87.
Get into the semifinals game. As we said it before, one of the iconic quotes in sports history. Al Michaels, "Do you believe in miracles?" Yes. That is, that leads to the win. I mean, it's a big, huge sports moment. The players are on the ice celebrating. So the fun thing about that is that they actually hired Al Michaels to recreate all the commentary except for that iconic line, basically. That
was actually footage of the actual game.
Yeah, it was actually footage of the actual game, and they actually just kept the original audio from whatever you call, because they were afraid Al Michaels wouldn't be able to give the same
Reaction.
emotion.
Well, it's the John Sterling thing, right? The first time he said Yankees win, oh, Yankees win, that was true emotion. At this point, it's just pure stupidity because it just sounds so boring and forced and like, how can you really do it 90 times a year?
Yeah, I know. He does
First time, like imagine Al Michaels every time he watched any sporting event was like, "Do you believe in miracles?" Like,
yeah,
come on.
I know.
One time was strong. Every time is like,
Yeah, and that's obviously what they did with that too. So, and then there's that scene
called by Gavin O'Connor, keeping it with the original.
Yeah,
because even the original call, he's not going crazy. It's very matter of fact. Do you believe in miracles?
Yeah,
it doesn't sound like, oh my God, he's not doing the rocket is in the boss's booth.
Yeah,
it's not that. It's just, do you believe in miracles?
It was perfect for that. At that moment. I mean, that's a huge moment for the United States to win that game.
It's also not a gold medal game.
It's also not a gold medal game, but it was just the U.S. versus Soviet Union, huge underdogs.
Oh, I concur. I agree with you on that. I'm just saying is the reaction toward the achievement versus his reaction.
And sometimes these announcers, when they get into a moment like that, their call becomes either too big for the moment. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like they try to do a little too much. Like it was just perfect. Like, it wasn't.
It was. Would we be talking about it today if they would have lost the next round?
I don't know. I don't think you do.
I don't think you do, right?
I think you
gotta finish it. You gotta finish it,
but it's not. It's almost a footnote.
It's like the Dolphins. They're undefeated and they won the Super Bowl. The Patriots are not, and we don't talk about that. We only talk about the fact that they lost.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it would almost be a footnote. It'd be like, yeah, we defeated the Soviet Union, but we didn't win the gold. We got a silver medal. And the United States has not won a gold medal since.
But listen, the plaque for second place is down by the ladies' room.
But yeah, I was going to say that scene where Herb Brooks, the entire team celebrating, everyone's going nuts, and he leaves the ice immediately, and he's in the back room, and he's celebrating. He's pumping his fist. And like that, I think that was actually one of the true parts of this movie was that's what he did. He didn't celebrate the team. I mean, obviously he was super excited about winning that game, but he didn't show his emotion on the ice. He did it by himself, in the hallways underneath the underneath the stadium. So that's a good, another big moment there. I mean, there's just so many moments in this movie that gives you chills when you watch it. The United States of America, the scene with Jack O'Callahan. Then you have Eddie Cahill looking for Jim Craig looking for his father in the audience. It's just, there's so much about this movie. There's every little detail and every story. The fact that it's so true to what actually occurred just makes it that much better. I guess we'll do our ratings now.
I'll give it 3 3/4 stars. I'm giving it 4 stars. 4 stars. Fine holiday fun. I loved it. It hits all the brackets for me. It's got a drama to it. There's some friendly funniness to it. Not really like laugh out loud funny, but like, haha, that was cute, kind of funny. It gets my patriotism boiling, like these colors don't run. Yeah. And it reminds me of that come together togetherness that we all need all the time. 4 stars. I love this movie.
So yeah, I think my only other 4-star rating so far has been Field of Dreams. I love Field of Dreams. I'm wearing the shirt right now. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go. I think I'm gonna go 4 stars as well.
There's nothing about the movie I don't like.
So I'm gonna give it 4 stars, and like the fact that it was true to the story, true to the depiction of what happened, and to everything Gavin O'Connor as director did to make those things happen and follow that true story it's incredible. So I'm gonna give it 4 stars.
I think that's all we have to say about the movie Miracle, 2004 movie about the Miracle on Ice 1980 Olympic team from the U.S. starring Kurt Russell, Noah Emmerich, and Eddie Cahill. For all of you joining us, we want to thank you for your time, and we'll see you again next week.
Stay rock.